that point, you will feel so ready. Not only will you be excited because you've taken all this time off, but your body will be strong, it will be healed, it will be ready, and it will be wonderful. That's the experience that we want you to have. That means waiting another month or two for the long-term athleticism of your entire life. It's worth it.
Returning to fitness post-tummy tuck can feel very overwhelming. You may be itching to get back at the gym, worried about what you've lost during this downtime. You may be dealing with pains and sensations, and you don't really know how to address those moving forward within your fitness routines, or you might just not know where to start in general. Do you work out alone? Do you go back to group classes? How do you get back to weightlifting? Do you start back to what you were doing before, or do you do things a little bit differently for a while? There's a lot of questions, and so today we really want to address a lot of those and help you on a path forward that you'll feel confident with.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Ryan from Tummy Tuck Rehab, and I'm a CrossFit Level 2 trainer and a pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach.
And I'm Inera, a physiotherapist, and I have a specialized interest in the abdominal wall, and I work a lot with people who've had tummy tucks.
Today, Inera and I want to talk about returning to fitness post tummy tuck. This is often something that can be very overwhelming for women, not really quite sure how or what to do first. And so we just want to give you some basic guidelines, hoping that it will help ease your anxieties and confusion as you get back to the movements you love.
Yeah.
So the first part of this is, where are you working out? Now, some of you always work out at home, so then you'll obviously just be at home when you start working out again. But if you are someone that likes to go to the gym, sometimes it can be best to do your first couple workouts or first few weeks of workouts at home, depending on what you need. And this is what I mean by that. If you're someone that kind of gets excited, gets competitive, gets caught up in the moment when you're with a bunch of people, this isn't the time to kind of put yourself into that atmosphere, because you need to go slowly, test some things out, and really kind of move at your own pace. But if you're someone that in that atmosphere, it's just going to make you happy to be there, but you know you can like play your own game, then it may be great to go back to the gym. However, it is very important, if you do go back to the gym early, to talk to your coach or gym owner or whoever will be helping you out there that you've had surgery. If you're not comfortable saying you've had a tummy tuck, you can just say you've had an abdominal surgery or a hernia type surgery or something like that. They'll get the gist that, okay, Cora's had a surgery, and they can at least kind of understand from that point and can help you modify a little bit as well. Although we do suggest you come in with your own plan, as I know some people don't really quite understand the ins and outs of recovering from this surgery.
Yeah. And then another thing is, when you start going back to exercising, you can expect that you're going to have an increase in swelling. You'll have some symptoms. So you may, as you are starting out and trying out your exercises and just testing the waters a little bit, you may notice some new sensations coming up within your abdomen, sort of prickly or stinging or just cramping, or a whole bunch of different kinds of sensations that feel weird and odd might start coming up. And this is to be expected. So what you want to do is just monitor what you're feeling, monitor the swelling that you are experiencing, and monitor these things during the exercises, like during your workouts, or initially they may not even be workouts. So you're just kind of trialing a whole bunch of different exercises, not necessarily with the purpose of working out. But initially you're just taking note of what's happening in your body during, after, the night that you did the exercise, so that night, and then also in the next morning. And this will give you a picture of how your body has responded to what you did. And so, like I said, you can expect to have more swelling once you become more active. But the next morning, you'll see that it may just return back to baseline. It typically just kind of comes back to where your swelling may have been before you did your exercise. Usually there always is a bit of swelling there, depending on, how far post-op you are. So let things come back down before you start exercising again. What you want to avoid is a scenario where you may have irritated things. You may have noticed that after you've done some exercise, you have some more swelling, a little bit of pain, and the next morning you still feel like you're swollen, you still feel more sore, and then you go back in that day and do more exercise. When you're post-op, that's actually not recommended. You're not trying to push yourself right now. You have to let your body heal. And your body gives you signs and feedback if you're doing too much or if you're doing enough, or maybe if you're not doing enough at all. So listen to that and let things come back down before you go back and do things again. And so you don't want anything to become worse. If your pain is starting to actually become increased throughout your week, you're noticing things are much more sore since you started exercising, that's a sign that you're probably doing a little more than what you should be. So we don't want things to increase. We always want things to come back down as a general rule of thumb.
Yeah, and on that note, we can talk a little bit about frequency with working out.
Sure.
So we've got the symptoms to look at, but also in general, even if you don't have a crazy burst of symptoms, we still don't want to be working out as much as we were maybe before. So everybody has a different workout regime. I'll just give you an example. Maybe you were working out 5 days a week. Maybe you want to go back to 3 days a week to start. Even if you feel like you could do more, you want to test out, or maybe 2 days a week or 1 day a week. I mean, any place to start that's less than what you were working out before surgery. Test that out for like 2 or 3 weeks before you up it to another day or another session. May be hard to do, especially as these sessions, like Minera was saying, isn't like a full crazy workout. You are moving and, doing some fitness, but it's not what you're used to, right? And so you might want to do more because you're like, this isn't enough. But we really want to encourage you to just really assess every 2 to 3 weeks before adding in more. Often, if you take it slower in the beginning, you'll see your progressions will actually go a lot quicker because it's giving your body time to adjust, adapt, still heal, and all of that. So it can be very, very beneficial. This is your chance to really collect your own data and your body and how things are feeling and how you're doing as you start to return to the fitness movements that you want to do.
Yeah. And then there's also the questions that come up around, how do I get started? What am I supposed to do? Well, you definitely don't want to start with what you used to do. You're trying to build yourself back up to that. So that's not your starting point, even though it may be what you're familiar with, what you last remember your body being able to do. You've also now had a major surgery that had severed some nerves, had disrupted the blood flow to the area, has repositioned your abdominal muscles, has tightened you. You've also not been exercising for a very decent amount of time. And so naturally, you will have had some amount of potential atrophy or just a weakness in your body that maybe you're just not used to, and which is why I totally get you're probably itching to get back to all of it. But you definitely want to be safe and take things slowly. So what does that actually mean? So what this means is going back first to develop some connection to your core. That would be like the first step, just developing connection and awareness back in your core. Meaning, spend some time before you even go and try out exercises. Spend some time feeling your abdomen, feeling your core muscles as they engage. Use your hands. Look at what's happening. Engage your core as you used to do. See what's going on in your pelvic floor. Does it feel like you can engage it and release it? Your abdomen, can you draw it in? Can you let go of it? Your breath, can you breathe in fully and can you let your air come out? So these are all just building connection back to your core. And spend some time doing that. It's the boring stuff. It's the stuff that you want to skip right over. And I get it. But don't skip it because you've just had a surgery, and this is really where rehab is very, very important in helping you feel more connected in your body for when you are doing more quicker, more advanced moves. So start with that. The next thing you can do is just build some foundation back in your muscles, specifically for the core. Use your connection that you've just kind of spent some time on, and now use that to build foundation back, meaning do some of those still boring exercises, bridging, potentially activating your core and then doing a bridge, and activating your core while breathing and doing some heel slides, some pelvic tilts, just the gentle stuff that you might already be familiar with, but you've sort of, what you last remember, you were probably doing much more than that. But go back to the very basics and just re-implement that as a strategy to get yourself back to doing all the hard stuff. And then you've spent some time doing those simple, gentle, boring exercises. That's when you can start adding a little bit more fun and variety. And you also want to give yourself, this is also a way to buy a bit more time, because we have to let the body heal a little bit and give your body enough time before it can really add more loads into it, before we can add loads into it through our exercises. So let your body have time and give yourself patience with this process. But you also then want to move on once you're ready to do a little bit more harder exercises. And this could mean going from doing a bridge to doing a bridge with a band around your knees, and you're pulling you're moving the knees apart. It could mean now that you're going from just kind of sitting and activating your core or doing heel slides, now you're doing a modified side plank. And or instead of doing a full plank, you're at the wall or you're on a counter, and you're just making your way down gradually. So there's a process. It's sort of step by step. And this is what we call rehab. So you don't want to just jump the gun and skip all that stuff and think that, okay, great, I think I'll just get back to doing my exercise. Do it slowly, take your time, reconnect, build foundation, and then build strength.
Yeah, I love it. Applying that same principle to getting back to more advanced exercises, weightlifting, all of that kind of stuff. Depending on if you're, doing powerlifting, Olympic lifting, just squatting with some weights, whatever you were doing before, the best place to start with those types of exercises are without weight and often slowing it down. I love having people work on some tempo squatting to a bench, without a bench, no weight first, and then maybe adding in a light weight, really getting our bodies back set with that good, strong foundation and breaking the movements down in a way that it's preparing you to get back to those full body movements. Another thing that I really like to do is just straight bodybuilding type movement. You're isolating an arm, a leg, you're isolating the things and kind of building the strength back in a non-dynamic way to get you back to the bigger lifts or the more dynamic lifting down the road. Again, sometimes for some people, it may feel frustrating because you want to get back to, XYZ or your snatches or whatever you want to be doing, but breaking it down is the key to really building a strong foundation moving forward back to more advanced exercises and obviously more weight.
Yeah, and then advanced exercises. So it's all the stuff that Lisa was describing and talking about. But advanced also means doing cardio. I would consider cardio an advanced exercise. So cardio meaning running, meaning even jumping jacks. I would classify that as advanced because in most cases, we're talking about high impact. So where your feet are coming off the ground and landing for however much time you're in the air, but there's that sort of pounding on the ground that can happen. That's high impact because there's a lot of force that comes through the ground when you land, travels up your feet, through your legs, into your core. What's going on in your core? Well, it's still healing. It still has to develop a scar internally. It still has to heal the wound externally as well. So there is time that is needed, that you need to provide your body and give your body in order to go back in and apply those kinds of loads. So what I'm saying here is you don't want to start with running. You don't want to even attempt running unless you've tried jogging. And you don't even want to try jogging or attempt jogging unless you've tried just speed walking. And you don't really even want to attempt speed walking unless you've tried just walking for the duration that you hope to be running for later on. Maybe it's 20, 30 minutes. So start with just walking for the 20, 30 minutes. Again, go back to what we were talking about before, monitor your symptoms, your pain, your swelling, your fatigue is another one. How much energy do you have after you have done your exercise at the end of the day? And also just kind of monitor that over the course of the week. And so you're monitoring things. And if everything has sort of come back to baseline and you still feel okay, nothing looks irritated down in the incision, you don't look more swollen, things have sort of settled back down, then these are signs that you can take it a little bit further, go a little bit faster. Maybe you need to first build up the amount of time first. So potentially you've been walking for 10 minutes at a good pace, then work up to 15, then 20, then 30 continuous minutes. And then the next step would be to add a little bit more speed to that. So again, follow a very methodical approach, especially after this kind of surgery. If it is a major surgery, there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. So whenever your surgeon gives you clearance to do light cardio, that in our books doesn't mean to start with jogging. Light cardio, in the way we see cardio, especially as it relates to this surgery, means low impact, so not where your feet are jumping off the ground. And it also means you're allowed to get your heart rate up, but it means you do it sort of gradually, as we sort of discussed just right before this. So light cardio could mean bicycle, it could mean elliptical, potentially rowing, but that could be a lot of pressure and a lot of flexion. And so maybe not even rowing just yet. But again, it's the low impact version, and then move into the higher impact where there are feet being lifted off the ground and landing on the ground. I would even say, if I were to take this one step further, I would even say you want to go through that process before you even start considering about jumping with both feet landing, coming off the ground and landing. So you want to start with potentially the running, because it's only 1 foot at a time before you do jumps up in the air vertically, because that's a lot more force going through your body and a lot more pressure being produced within your core. So that was my 2 cents.
That's great. I think to wrap it up, generally looking at the whole picture, right? And again, I know everyone has different fitness things that they want to do, but if we're looking at kind of like a strength and conditioning kind of focus, we've covered kind of the running and the jumping and that component of it. And generally now looking forward to, okay, well, let's see, I want to get back to a really heavy lift, a really heavy front squat, right? Or a muscle up, or other high pressure, dynamic, high skill movements. We want to look at generally about 5 to 6 months out. Now, you may hear that and be like, what? That sounds like forever, or other people may be thinking, that makes sense, but however you think about it, we find that is really the best way to look at it, given all situations are different. Some people may have to wait longer than 6 months, given what their surgeons say, right? But if you're someone that's cleared at like 6, 8 weeks or 12 weeks to kind of get back to doing everything, right? Then that timeline that you're going to be on is going to be starting there, and up until 3 months or 12 weeks, we're still really taking it easy. And even after that 12 weeks, it's a very slow build, slowly adding weights, slowly getting back to some more strengthening core work, like me and Era talked about before, versus just connecting, right? Slowly progressing, but really focusing on building the foundation and taking step by step all the way up to 5 and 6 months, when you can kind of look at it as flying free again, right? Getting back on the pull-up bar, doing muscle up swings, like all that stuff. So We want to hammer that home. I hope this really helped you guys. You kind of have a general idea of what returning to fitness can look like in a very positive way. Please stay in contact with us if you guys are on your own journey, you have anything to share. We love hearing your stories, and we'll see you next time.
We want you to remember that slow is fast. Taking the time to build a solid foundation in the beginning will allow you to progress faster later in the process. You will also find a new and deep gratitude for your movement as you find freedom and fun in your fitness again post tummy tuck.
So weird that we can function with like songs playing in the back of your mind. Ready?
Yeah.
We're recording, so whenever you're ready.
Oh. On the 5th day of the 26th week. Okay.
Of the 8th month.